Salam everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So I've received a lot of questions, or not that many, but some questions asking me how I learned Arabic as a non-Arab. So for this video, I'm going to be speaking about how I learned Arabic as a non-Arab, and I'll also be giving you a few tips if you're trying to learn Arabic. So as some of you may know, and as I've mentioned in other videos, I speak Hebrew. So I learned Hebrew from a very young age, as my family is Israeli, and I speak to my grandparents in Hebrew. So I've been speaking Hebrew since I was really young, about as long as I've been speaking English. So this definitely is something that is helpful when you're learning Arabic, because Arabic and Hebrew are both Semitic languages. They come from the same language family and they have a lot of similarities. Not only do they have a lot of similar words, but the structure of the language, like sentence structure and grammar, vocabulary, is all very similar. After I converted to Islam, I decided that I wanted to learn Arabic because I wanted to be able to read the Quran and actually understand it. So the first thing I did in order to be able to read the Quran was learn the Arabic alphabet. And this honestly was super easy. I learned it myself in a few days, I think, maybe a week tops. I just Googled Arabic alphabet and I just looked at it over and over until I had memorized all of the letters and all of the sounds of all of the letters. After learning the Arabic alphabet, I decided that I wanted to learn a dialect, and specifically the Moroccan dialect, or Darija, due to my Moroccan heritage. I thought it would be a good idea to learn Moroccan Arabic because I had a lot of Moroccan friends, and I thought it would be really nice to be able to speak to them in Moroccan Arabic. So I tried to go online and find help and resources in order to learn Darija, but it was actually very difficult to find online sources for Arabic dialects, especially when it came to Moroccan Arabic. After that was a complete fail, I decided that I would take Modern Standard Arabic, or Fusha, at university. So my university offered Arabic courses. It was a year-long course, so it was definitely a commitment, but I thought that it was the right choice to do and it would help me learn Arabic. Honestly, at the beginning, I was really hesitant about taking this course because all the Arabs were telling me that Arabs don't speak with each other in Modern Standard Arabic, which is true. So I didn't really see the point in learning a language that nobody was speaking. I wanted to learn Arabic in order to not only be able to read the Quran, but also to be able to interact with people and speak Arabic with people. And this is actually completely wrong, and I'll get into why I was wrong for thinking that a bit later in the video when I give you tips for learning Arabic. So anyways, in the end, I decided to take the Modern Standard Arabic course, and this gave me a really good base, and alhamdulillah, I was able to learn really quickly. And I think it's because I'm kind of good with languages, but also because I speak Hebrew, and it really just made sense to me. The language structure, the vocabulary, it just really stuck with me very quickly, alhamdulillah. And I was able to successfully complete the course with really high grades, and it was actually a lot of fun. But like I said before, Arabs don't speak with each other in Modern Standard Arabic. They learn Modern Standard Arabic in school, and it's a language that's used, for more official purposes, but it's not a language that Arabs speak to each other on a day-to-day basis. So after I had completed my course in Modern Standard Arabic, I met my husband. And when I started speaking to him in Arabic, I would speak to him in Modern Standard Arabic, which he thought was really funny because nobody speaks that. It's kind of like speaking to someone in Shakespeare English. It's just strange a bit, but it still makes sense. But basically, the more I spoke with him and the more I interacted with him and his family, the more I started learning Arabic words from the Palestinian dialect. I didn't really actively learn Palestinian Arabic. It was kind of more passive. So for example, I would try to slowly incorporate different words into my vocabulary. And I actually did have this dictionary on my phone, on my notes page, where I would ask her random words, and I would write it down in English and then in Arabic, in Palestinian Arabic. But I never actually really consulted this. Once I wrote it down, I never really looked back on it. But it kind of just subconsciously went into my brain because I was living with his family, and I still do live with his family. So I just am surrounded by Palestinian Arabic so much that subconsciously it just like enters in my brain. But I still did some active work, such like I described, which would be replacing Fusha words with Palestinian words. So every day I would try to learn like another word that I would replace from modern standard Arabic to Palestinian Arabic. Oh, the adhan is in the background, as you can hear. That's why I love living in Jerusalem. But anyways, so my first word may have been, I don't remember, replacing urid to bidi, and then I would slowly add in more words. So for example, instead of anf, nose, I would say munkhar, which is a Palestinian word for nose. So basically that's how I started learning Palestinian Arabic, and that was what I was doing for about maybe a few months. But after that I stopped trying to actively learn Palestinian Arabic, which I probably should actually continue doing because it could be helpful, but I started focusing more on the passive learning. So when I hear the kids speak, or when I hear my my husband's family members, or my family, because we're a family now, when I hear them speak to each other, I like words go into my brain and I remember those. Okay, so this brings me to the tip portion of the video. So for tip number 1 would be that you should actually start by learning modern standard Arabic, because this is the language in Arabic that has the most resources online or even in person, and it's the easiest to learn because when you're learning you need to have a lot of resources available, and without that you're not going to be able to learn. As I mentioned earlier, it's extremely hard to find full resources of Arabic dialects. You may find some websites that have some words, some basic phrases, but to have a whole comprehensive lesson plan or a whole comprehensive book in a dialect, I don't really think it's easy to find. You may be able to find some, but there are so much fewer resources for specific Arabic dialects than there are for modern standard Arabic language. So tip number 2 is, if you can learn it in a school setting, I would suggest that either with a tutor or at a school, because it will force you to really study, and it's easier to learn a language when someone who is skilled and knows how to teach is going to teach you. Learning a new language can be very difficult, and unless you have a big talent for learning languages, I would suggest that you take formal classes to be able to learn properly and quickly. Moreover, modern standard Arabic is a really good base for learning any other Arabic dialect. So despite the fact that Arabs don't speak with each other in modern standard Arabic, every single Arabic dialect is based off of modern standard Arabic. So the sentence structure and the vocabulary stays pretty much the exact same, and the only difference is the vocabulary, but not all of the vocabulary. A lot of the words stay the same, but then again, a lot of words are different. Number 2 is, if you really want to learn Arabic and a specific dialect of Arabic, try to surround yourself with people who do speak that dialect. So either you can go on vacation and learn by speaking with people there. You can make some friends, which can be even better because you can have a constant immersion of Arabic. You can find groups online where they have study groups or something of the sort, where people get together to speak that certain language. And finally, tip number 3, this actually works off of tip number 2. So my tip number 3 is watch movies and TV shows. So this is another form of immersion, which is super important when you're trying to learn a language. So I definitely suggest that you try to find TV shows and movies in the dialect you're looking for. If you're trying to learn Egyptian Arabic, then you're super lucky because there are so many TV shows and movies in Egyptian Arabic. You can also listen to songs. This is also helpful, but try to look at the lyrics so you actually know what is being said. And the same for movies. You can put subtitles in English so that you can understand what they're saying and also subconsciously hold on to these words. And if you're trying to learn Palestinian Arabic, there are less movies in the Palestinian dialect. So inshallah, I will put a list of Palestinian movies in the description box below so that you can check those out, inshallah. So I said finally for tip number 3, but there's actually another tip or another 2 tips. Let me see. Anyways, so my 4th tip would be, as I was doing when I learned Arabic, please try to, at least in the beginning, have a goal of a certain amount of words per day. So it can be 3 to 5 words a day. I think this is a good number, but it can even be 1 word a day. So try to learn 1 word a day and write it down either in a notebook or on your phone, and have like a little dictionary, so that if ever you want to say this word again and you want to use this word again, you can always look back, and you can even sometimes go over the whole dictionary to practice all the words. But like I said, just the mere fact of writing it down may be helpful enough in memorizing this word, but it obviously can be helpful to look back at your dictionary to have a memory refresh. So that is all for this video. I hope that you guys can take something away from this video, and that I wish every single one of you good luck if you're trying to learn Arabic, or even if you're trying to learn any language. Remember that consistency is key. If you want to learn the language, keep going, don't give up, and stay consistent. If you just learn a bit for a certain period of time, then you stop for like 3 months, and then you learn again, it's going to be really difficult. So try to stay consistent, and even if it's just 1 word a day, or saying 1 sentence a day, or hearing 1 sentence a day, that can be good enough. So I wish all of you luck. Thank you so much for watching my video, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you very much, and have a nice day. Also, I apologize in advance for the cringy thumbnail that I'm gonna put, but I really don't know what to put, and I don't want to just be like, for the thumbnail, you know what I'm saying? So it might be something cringy like, please don't judge me, but I don't know what else to put.